In 2023, on my bingo card, I did not have G-side starting from October 7th. And in 2024, I did not see race riots and pogroms against black people, Muslim people, basically people of color. It is incredibly shocking, and those of us who are millennials, those of us who are Gen Z, find ourselves in a very enlightening situation where we've been told, hammered into us, the principles of equality, of fairness, of justice, but the systems that we live in don't actually cultivate these ideals. They don't actually walk the walk. We see our media and politicians, they're all facilitating, bolstering a genocide against Palestinian people, and media and politicians not doing enough when the evidence is so clear. And then you have people, mainstream politicians like Nigel Farage, as far right as he is, he's still bolstered, and he's still, there's not enough criticism against him and against Nigel Farage, a far right figure, as there was against somebody like Jeremy Corbyn, somebody who's very much a social progressive, very much, not particularly far left. He's just somebody who's just, embodying the ideals of the Labour movement that we had in this country, in the United Kingdom, and also in the US, since the progressive era, following the Gilded Age of inequality. But I'm going to give you 3 reasons why these race riots aren't going to go out in the same way that a lot of my the comments in my videos, so some of these far right people who are thinking of this as the coming of a new age. That's all a lie. That's this is going to dissipate, because of course you got 3 elements at play here. You got the fact that these race riots are one pursued by people who are powerless in society, and these people, even though they are listening to people, Tommy Robbins and people like Nigel Farage, these are the people who are pawns to millionaires and billionaires. They're essentially not particularly well versed in the facts. A lot of them started the riots, for example, following misinformation, and so it's becoming clear to the vast majority of the public that these people aren't really representative of most Britons. Only 8% of Britons see the riots as representative of Britain. 2/3 of Britons would describe the riots as done by people who are thuggish, by far right. Some even half of those would consider them even terrorists. Far smaller percentage of people, 8% of people, would consider them as representative of Britons, and only somewhere like 12% of them sympathise with them. Now, there's a large percent of people who sympathise with the more peaceful protests, but as we can see, vast majority of protests disintegrate. They erode into more violent, more nefarious forms. For the most part, they see Islam in a very monstrous way. They don't see it as a community that people are born into. They don't understand the very basic principles of the fact that you don't choose to be born into a religion, you don't choose to be born into a community, and they essentially create a fundamental, essential identity and create a straw man of Muslims and pit the Muslim as the other, when they're really just people like you and I. And in a heavily, in a society whereby we are more and more in a cosmopolitan situation where we can actually engage with Muslims, we can communicate, we can live amongst the so-called other. A lot of us are very aware that these are people just like you and I. So it requires this fundamental ignorance for them to proliferate their ideas, and so it's not going to turn out in the way they think it is. Nazi Germany failed. Oswald Mosley failed. Enoch Powell, he failed, and these riots are going to fail. And it's quite sad, because my second point is that these people don't know the cause of their desperation, their desolation, the fact that their communities are desolate, the fact that the privatization of most industries in which they're born into, up in the north especially, whereby you had whole communities based on a certain industry, with manufacturing or mining. Well, these became privatized, leading to a situation whereby the whole community lost its prosperity. They ignore the fact that they're just led like sheep by the millionaires and billionaires, and they're looking at the wrong cause of their misery. The immigration issue is a tiny fraction of a dot in terms of the cause of their struggles. We are seeing over the last several decades 50 trillion travel upwards from the working class into the hands of the billionaires. There are more billionaires than there ever have been, but there are more poorer people than there ever been. If they actually understood what's going on, then they would become progressive leftists. But because they are so beholden by the xenophobic rage that they're not going to get anywhere. There are more of us anti-racist than there are of them. So more on this in the future, but I don't see this going the way they think it is. But the centrists, however, will try and capture this audience, will try and manipulate them into thinking that, or manipulate the masses into thinking that they will champion the causes of these people, meanwhile actually working on behalf of the billionaires and corporations that fund them. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you very much.